This is the Renegade teacher blasting out with another transmission. Folks, if you can hear me, I have reestablished a connection with Earth. I have reemerged from the dark side of the moon, ready to take on a new week of challenges with you as we continue our quest through space on that search for rationality in public education. I'm super excited to have you on board with me tonight, folks, here. I have to warn you straight out of the gate that I am extremely fired up. I have spent the last 48 hours attempting to gain control of the ship as we tumble toward a black hole, folks. We are tumbling into a black hole tonight together. I've had something brought to my attention, and I have absolutely spiraled over the last few days. And what I bring to you tonight, folks, is a tragedy. We are going to be looking at the Ohio resident educator program together here. I want to challenge you to do a Google search in the near future and attempt to locate as many different professions as you can that require a residency, folks. And I challenge you to find me one that is not a medical profession. And I want you to contemplate with me here at the beginning of the rant tonight, how in the world we could have a situation where teachers are being required to complete a residency program after attending a 4-year bachelor's degree program that should convert them into professionals. The reason why I bring up Ohio is apparently that Ohio is the flagship state beginning in 2011. We're going to look at their website here, the Ohio Department of Education. This is the state, apparently, that has started this unbelievably psychotic notion that all teachers, regardless of the pathway they're taking into the classroom, are to be given this 4-year program. So we're going to look through it together, and I'm going to read an excerpt from actually a document that I'll bring up again later in the rant. But it says here that the Ohio Department of Education requires all Ohio teachers to begin their careers in the Ohio Resident Educator Program under a 4-year Resident Educator license, or alternative Resident Educator licensure. Beginning teachers, known as resident educators, must complete all 4 years of the program and successfully pass the Resident Educator Summative Assessment, RSEA, in order to advance their license to a 5-year professional license. It says the Resident Educator Program and the RSEA are aligned to the Ohio Standards for the Teaching Profession, OSTP. And it goes on. I'll stop there for that segment, but I want to reiterate that the reason why we are focusing on Ohio here is because, from what I can tell, and trust me, I have spent the time doing my homework, it is very difficult to find another state that requires all teachers. Again, we're including in this. This is not a resident educator program for people taking a alternative pathway to licensure. It's not only that. This is for including people who become highly trained and qualified professional teachers through a bachelor's degree program. Ohio is requiring they do this as well, and this is absolute insanity, folks. Again, many other states have resident educator programs, but they focus, from what I can tell, on the non-traditional pathways. So the first document we have to get to here together is the program requirements for the Ohio Resident Educator Program, and I want to take you through it. So strap in here. It has areas of focus, and it lays out some goals. And then beginning here, it says program year one. It says complete mentoring year one. The teaching and learning cycle, plan, teach, assess, reflect, and revise. Complete focused mentoring year one. Communication, collaboration, and professional growth. Okay, so this is an entire year, folks. The first year that an educator, a teacher gets their feet on the ground in their classroom, and they have program year one here of the resident educator program in Ohio, and they're given a basically a stack of duties to perform with a mentor. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole about how to become a mentor and everything that's involved in it. We'll get there, hopefully, if we have time. But folks, we're talking about brand new teachers straight out of college who admittedly are going to be a little green in the classroom. They're going to trip and fall. Metaphorically speaking, they're going to make mistakes, but at the same time, they are trained professionals at this point that need to be allowed the space and the time to think and focus, and not be given a bunch of extra responsibilities, a bunch of master's degree level coursework here in their first year of teaching. This is absolute insanity. This should be illegal. I can say that straight out of the gate. I'm completely comfortable with that. Program year two, there's another year of mentoring, folks. This time it says the teaching and learning cycle, plan, teach, assess, reflect, and revise, which is the same from the previous year, but the focused mentoring year two is for formative and summative assessments. And folks, this means that the first 2 years that these poor souls are attempting to get their feet on the ground, to get some traction and some sanity back in their life, they are inundated with a bunch of these responsibilities for collaborating with their mentor. And I have an example template that the Ohio Department of Education provides for these collaborative meetings, and I'll read you the sections, everything that and this is a template. They do admit you can use a different version or create your own, but this clearly lays out the things that are intended to be covered in these sessions. It has objectives and goals of the meeting and a space to actually write this out. A introduction and a space for resources, whatever that is referring to. It says alignment to the standards and mentoring standards, which is another document that we need to get to. It says common language terms. It even has a section, folks, for acronyms. There is a section for acronyms in this reflection form for this mentoring activity. This ridiculous nonsense being put on brand new educators, folks, here in this poor state, folks, these poor people. If you're a teacher in Ohio, brand new, coming into education, God bless your soul. It says here, this is a huge box, folks. Activity, description / conversation, question / content. A huge box. The next page has reflection and or evidence of learning, folks. Reflection questions. Again, these are things that should be happening in conversation with a mentor, not having to be written out This is insanity. It has a follow-up section and a notes section, folks. Notes. This is something that is intended to be used multiple times throughout the first 2 years of this teacher's career, folks. And these things are intended to be kept and archived in binders and preserved as evidence, as if the teacher did not just probably either go into debt or spend a shit ton of money on tuition from these colleges. This is ridiculous. They are trained professionals at this point, and this is the end of year 2 here, folks. 2 years of mentoring and constantly having to do these meetings. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. This should be illegal. The other document we looked at referred to the mentoring standards, folks, and this is its own PDF document. It is 6 pages long. It is divided into, I'll read you the sections. I won't read the document, I'll read the sections. Standard 1, mentors demonstrate commitment to advance the professional learning and practice of resident educators, as if resident educators are not capable of having commitment on their own, folks. It has all of these indicators just for this one section. This is standard 2, mentors design and facilitate professional development for resident educators. There's a whole bunch of indicators. Standard 3, mentors create and foster positive learning environments. This is disgusting, folks. This is just the mentor standards. Standard 4, mentors support resident educators' instructional and assessment practices. Again, these are things that should be done in conversation and not need to be documented anywhere. These are professionals. This is unbelievable. Standard 5, mentors develop as leaders and learners through professional growth. My God, even the mentors have to show growth. I'm in shock, folks. I am in absolute shock. Looking at this is blowing my mind. Year 3 of the program, if one or two of these poor, brand new educators have made it to year 3 after all of this nonsense here, it is time for them to begin the Resident Educator Summative Assessment year, folks. I have for you the, brace for it now, the 42-page PDF document titled Preparing Resident Educators for the 2019-2020 Resident Educator Summative Assessment. And folks, on the cover is a stock photo model gentleman here who has a grin on their face that would make even the most calm, collected, very understanding person want to make a hole in their wall with their fist, just because the unrealistic level of happiness on this person's face infuriates them that much. Folks, there is a letter at the beginning of this document. I'll go through the table of contents here. I want to just give you, I can't do this, folks. This is too much. 42 pages of hell. This is the work of governmental demons, folks. This is written by people who, the mandate here is being made by people who have never taught a day of school in their damn lives. They have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and they are, yes, they request that educators participate in this process of designing these assessments and things, but there is no excuse, folks, for the mandate to be there to begin with. This shows an enormous lack of respect for the teaching profession. In 2011, when this nonsense was passed in Ohio, I've done my research here. Governor John Kasich was the culpable party in allowing this nonsense to be vomited out onto the poor educators in the state of Ohio. Folks, as I scroll through this 42-page RSEA Guidebook, I am going to need a blood pressure cuff. There is a level of there is an amount of information in this document that is unprecedented in its ridiculousness. There is just checklist after checklist. I'll move on because I want to highlight some of the things in other reflection forms. And let me go here to this one. This is the video commentary and reflection form. So this is a form that these poor people are asked to fill out, and to you'll see. We'll get into it in a minute, but the Resident Educator Summative Assessment in Ohio requires that teachers in the third year of their residency do these videos of them teaching, and they are asked to, in this form, to submit the video and provide responses to the following. This is a 12-page document. So it says here, number 1, list the learning outcomes for this lesson in the table below and explain why the outcomes are academically rigorous and how they are connected to your local school or district priorities and Ohio's learning standards or relevant national standards if Ohio's learning standards do not apply. And folks, the size of the box, if you know anything about forms, you know that the size of the box is an indicator as to how much information you are intended to provide. And folks, this is a full-page box. And if this was filled out, let me check and see if it is, folks. It is a fillable PDF document with a no option to change the font. And this font has to be no larger than 10 point. This is these people are expected to write a novel here. The second one says explain why these learning outcomes are academically rigorous. Folks, this is another full page box. Folks, I don't know if I can get through this. This is absolutely infuriating me. This is in year 3 of a residency program. After 2 years of mentoring, the third one here says, how are these learning outcomes connected to both your school district priorities and the Ohio standard? They already said this, folks. This has already been said in this form. And there's another full-page box. I'm completely out of control here, folks. This is blowing me off the world. Teacher knowledge and content. My God, folks, this is just now question 2 on this document. Describe the selected lesson's content focus and its importance to the overall content area. Another full-page box. Folks, this is out of control. Question 3. Describe the prior knowledge and skills, including general language skills and academic language skills, students must have in order to achieve the learning outcomes for this lesson. Be sure to demonstrate your knowledge of how important concepts in the discipline relate to one another and your understanding of the prerequisite relationships among topics and concepts that students need in order to understand the focus of this lesson. Folks, this is... No, folks. This cannot say this. This cannot say this. These poor resident educators are in year 3 of their teaching career, are being forced to to type out and prove that they understand the connections in the content. Folks, this is beyond anything I have ever seen. How dare the state of Ohio be doing this to people? Another full-page box, folks. There's more. Folks, we are only on page 7 of 12. There is an entire box here. It says, describe anything that happened in your classroom prior to the segment that you believe will help the assessor understand the context. Another full-page box. Question 4. What aspect of the content focus of this lesson is illustrated in the video segment? How about they watch the damn video and figure it out themselves? Why is this aspect of the content focus important? Be sure you point out how the content focus of your video illustrates relationships among important concepts in the discipline and how your understanding of prerequisite relationships among topics and concepts in the discipline is demonstrated in this segment. Folks, no! No! Folks. No. If this nonsense is allowed to spread to other states, we have lost the battle, folks. It is time to wake the hell up in Ohio and stop this nonsense. Question 5. Describe the specific method of formative assessment you used to assess student progress toward the learning outcomes for this lesson. Why is this method useful as a check-in point for student progress toward the learning outcomes of this lesson? Folks, it's another full-page box. Question 6, how successful was this entire lesson in relation to the learning outcomes stated in your lesson overview? Be specific in your answer and explain what evidence, like student behaviors and responses, support your answers. Folks, it is another full-page box. Question 7, which of your selected instructional strategies for this entire lesson was most successful in supporting the range of student understandings of varied learning needs of students in the class? Folks, I am not joking. It goes on to an 8th question with another full-page box. We finally just now reached the end of this video reflection form. Folks, these resident educators in Ohio are being asked to do this 2 times in the 3rd year of their program. This is all part of the RSEA, the Resident Educator Summative Assessment Year 3 in Ohio. Folks, if a person, these poor resident educators, if they're lucky enough to have survived all of the stress of their first 3 years trying to establish themselves as new teachers in the classroom, and they're lucky enough to make it through the RSEA, this is unbelievable, folks. They actually have a 4th year, folks. And for this, I have dug up for you more documents from the Ohio Department of Education. I cannot take any more of this nonsense. It has okay, year 4 of the program says engage in activities as determined by the district or school. So they give some autonomy to the local, the professionals in the local districts and schools to determine how to exactly proceed here. But they do provide a framework for it, and it is a bunch of tracking your professional development nonsense, folks. They even have something in Ohio called the Ohio Teacher Leadership Framework that they encourage the year 4 resident educators to do and use. And folks, it is another black hole. I cannot take any more of this. As I scroll through this document, it just goes on and on and on. I'll read this section here. It says, defining teacher leadership in Ohio. It says, teacher leaders are teachers who, while remaining in the classroom, take on additional leadership responsibilities beyond their own classroom. with other teachers as well as district, state, and national leaders to advance the profession with the ultimate goal of enhancing student success. Teacher leaders contribute to their educational community through their support of professional learning, involvement in decision-making, and improved instructional practice. Who the hell would have time for improving instructional practice when they have been inundated with the most unbelievable amount of nonsense the previous 3 years of their career here, the first 3 years of these teachers' careers in Ohio, and now they are being pushed to do even more stuff outside of their own classroom. Why, how in the world has a state gotten to the point of trying to hold teachers, all teachers, to a level of professionalism that is only shared with professions like doctors and things like that? Folks, this is unbelievable. There's no way that this is justified. I cannot take this, folks. This is out of control. If someone makes it through year 4 without having some type of major medical meltdown, it says here that they even require that these poor people go through an application process to attain their professional teaching license. After having agreed to be a public servant, an underpaid, abused public servant with a bachelor's degree, they are professionals. These people are being absolutely destroyed. Any hope of their first 4 years, this is being done in the name of assisting teachers, and it is destroying any chance they have at developing some type of normalcy and routine, and how about a little self-confidence in the fact that they have just spent 4 years of their life preparing themselves to become teachers. And again, they're not going to be perfect, and I'll tell you, but they're definitely going to be better off than if they had go through some ridiculous master's degree level mandatory residency program like it was endorsed in 2011 in Ohio and is still happening. Folks, I fear this spreading to other states. This could be the end of public education as we know it. Teachers deserve a much higher level of respect than they get, but this, folks, this dips to an entire new low after having gone through all of these documents with you here tonight. I don't think I have ever felt as much rage in my soul about the disrespect for the teaching profession that this demonstrates, folks. I hope that we make it out of this one. This is absolutely absurd. This is absolutely absurd. It's enough to make me want to. It's enough to make me want to iron an entire week's worth of clothing for work. 5 nice shirts, 10 pairs of pants, and iron them completely with 0 wrinkles, folks, professional press, and then take all of them and stuff them into a single grocery bag so tight that the grocery bag stretches and begins to form holes from which the clothing begins to emerge, and then it makes me want to stomp on the bag, folks, and then take all that clothing out and hang it back up on the hangers and go to work all week in wrinkly clothing. Folks, if I'm going to have to reel it in tonight. This is beyond anything I've ever experienced. If you're enjoying the content on the channel, please show some support. Subscribe, like the video. If you dare, give it a share. I'm gonna sign off for tonight. Stay safe. I will catch you at the midweek. And as always, be honest with yourself, folks. Let's be real and affect some change in public education together. This is the Renegade Teacher signing off.